What's going on, boys? It's your boy Saroni Macaroni MMA here, back in another video. And today we have a very special video today. As you can tell by the thumbnail, it's gonna be about Ian Garry versus Makhachev coming up this Saturday at UC 330 specifically. And yes, I'm gonna be a little bit late this time around for predictions. Predictions will be out tomorrow. Make sure to tune in. But today we're gonna be talking down and breaking down a little bit, kind of a little bit in depth of why I think Ian Garry versus Islam Makhachev is closer than people actually think. Now, yes, Islam is the champion. He's about to break Anderson Silva's record. Like, he's been dominant. He hasn't lost since like 2016. Yes, we know all this, bro. We know all this. But Ian Garry is a closer chance than a lot of people think, bro. Today we're just gonna break down, the ways Ian Garry could really catapult himself into winning this. Because like realistically, Ian Garry's not gonna finish Islam. He barely finishes. He barely has that many finishes in the UFC. Really, like out of most of his fights, I forget how many fights he has. I think he has like close to. I think he has almost 10. I'm not totally sure, but he's around there. But regardless, primarily most of his wins have come from decision, bro. It's decision. He just dominates the fight, or he just some of them split. But I really think Ian Garry has a chance. People are saying I'm gonna knock out Ian Garry in like round one. It's like, no, bro. In what world do you think it's gonna happen? Yes, it'd be satisfying to see Ian Garry get knocked out, cool, or even get submitted, choked out, out cold. But realistically, Ian Garry's he's not going down without a fight. We know that. We know how good Ian Garry is on the feet. We know he has the grappling ability, bro. We've seen him do reversals. We've seen him go head to head with people. Although he does have some very questionable performances past couple years, like some against Shavkat, and then the MVP fight. I mean, like any fight with MVP is just questionable because like he's boring, bro. Like nothing happened in that fight. You don't even need to worry about that. But the Shavkat fight was like come on, man. That was a little scary. The Carlos Prates fight was like kind of scary too. The Bilal Muhammad fight was not. I would say it was kind of close. Yes, I know Ian Garry like 27-30 time, like round one and round two, but that fight was pretty close as well. But some very questionable fights. The past couple of fights he's had, and yes, he did this to Shavkat too, which is another thing. But anyways, let's jump right into this and let's go in a deep dive why this fight is closer than people think. And let's start off with the advantages Ian Garry has in this fight. Now, when you look at the matchup, size-wise, height-wise, the reach-wise, yes, Ian Garry, in a way, yeah, he towers over Islam. Islam's about like 5'10", close to 5'11". Actually, no, probably closer to 5'9", actually. And then Ian Garry's like 6'3", right? He has the reach, almost a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. Obviously, he has the range. He's pretty good at controlling his range. Like I put here, distance management. He's really good at managing distance in fights. We've seen it before. Some of his early fights, I mean, he was pretty good at that. But in some of his early fights, he does have a couple of finishes too. But he was fighting like some of those guys being bums. But like regardless of that, he's pretty good at it. We saw it in the Neil Magny fight, bro. To this day, I feel so bad for Neil Magny. He got destroyed in that fight, bro. And I mess with Neil Magny. I think he's cool. He's fighting his upcoming card too. He's a solid fighter, bro. But he got destroyed in that fight. And Ian Garry, like I remember we saw in an interview, like a recent clip, like I think he was about, I'm pretty sure it's about the Neil Magny fight. He was saying he didn't want to finish him, he was trying to, beat him up, destroy him, which is fair, but it's like, dang, bro, what did he do? But realistically, in this fight, yes, Ian Garry's distance and range in this fight are dangerous, bro. I would really say, like he just, I don't know, man. This is a big height disadvantage and a big reach, not huge reach. I mean, not the worst, but like that's not the main reason why I think he can win this fight. I really think that Islam is always gonna go and shoot for takedowns in fights. We know that, but I think Ian Garry, round one is a test. If Islam fails at getting some takedowns, he fails at getting him on the ground, wrestling with him. maybe looking for a submission, then I think Ian Gary can like Ian Gary's not gonna get finished. I think this fight's gonna be a win for Islam by decision. Like I'm predicting Islam to win this fight, but Ian Gary has a very high chance in like the first couple of rounds. I think Ian Gary could take like the first round and maybe even like one of the middle rounds, round 3 or maybe round 4. But ultimately Islam's gonna get the win here. But Ian Gary's gonna put a good performance. He's gonna be very like in this. I feel like between fighter IQ, I feel like he's smarter than Islam. I don't know why. I just like I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to hype up Ian Gary. I'm not really a fan of him, but I'm not gonna discredit his fighting skill. But I genuinely think that his IQ is rivals over like 95. No, I'll say 90% of the UFC. Islam, I think he kind of edges out Islam with that, IQ. But Islam is pretty good at closing distance. We've seen it. Like, yes, I kind of did do some film study. I did watch, JDM fight. I watched him fight. What's it called? What was his last fight? Oh my God, I'm blanking. His last fight was JDM, but I watched him fight Dustin Poirier. I watched the Volk fights. I mean, I remember them, but I just kind of need, um, put them back in my brain for a year because I remember those fights very vividly. Those are really good, entertaining fights. But I just need to get them back in my head for a minute. But Islam truly, like, he's good at what he does, bro. We saw it in the Volk fight. He ended up finishing Volk. He closed distance there. But those two are, he he kind of decides to manage in that fight too. But like, still, Islam has not fought somebody with Ian Gary's stature, so that could be a problem for him, like in like round 1. But then eventually kind of adjust to it. But I would say that like the biggest, besides the fighter IQ, the biggest thing for the distance management, I think Islam gonna close the distance after round 1. But Ian Gary's gonna do a very good job of closing the distance in this fight, really trying to measure himself to Islam, making sure he doesn't get too close because Islam, we know Islam can bang, bro. And Ian Gary would like to, Ian Gary would like to strike on the feet with people too. Like he likes a good old brawl back and forth. But at the same time, Islam's so dangerous in the feet. Like his striking is so clean and nasty that I genuinely think Ian Gary he just needs to kind of avoid those long striking like back and forths or striking barrages, I guess. No, striking exchanges with Islam because he could definitely get chinned, bro. Get chinned, get knocked down, get his back taken, and then get submitted. Because I don't think Islam's gonna knock him out. I don't see that. Now let's move on to a little special thing I kind of did here. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Well, let's take a look at Ian Gary's resume real quick, and let's just look at some of his wins. We're gonna really start with the D-Rod win, just because his first 4 fights in the UFC were kind of like, who really cares? I mean, he was still new, but it's like, who really cared? I mean, like, we didn't really care. Like, I remember the first time I really paid attention to Ian Gary, because I watched all his fights, but like the first time I really noticed him kind of was when he fought Song Kanan on the Jones versus Gane card. Such a pitiful main event. Anyways, but I remember that nasty finish. I forgot how he won that because as you can see, it's been 3 years from now. I forgot. D-Rod fight, smoke D-Rod. I mean, most welterweights currently smoke D-Rod too. Then the Neil Magny fight was just a dominant performance. That was probably his best performance. That was no, not probably. That was his best performance I've ever seen from him. Jeff Neal, one split with Jeff Neal is kind of questionable, but like Jeff Neal's still a tough guy, and he was doing a lot of damage to him. MVP, such a boring fight. I mean, I just don't know, bro. I'm not gonna blame Ian Gary for that. I blame MVP because MVP is just a terrorist to the sport. Shavkat, we know he lost. Shavkat, bro, this Shavkat fight really kind of woke a lot of people up. That like show that Ian Gary has a lot of big flaws to his game, bro. One of those being, it was so hard for him to get up after getting taken down by Shavkat. He literally just had to sit there and just take it. He had to sit there and grapple with him because he couldn't get out of it until like Shavkat made like a mistake or like the round ended, something like that. It was just, and Carlos, bro, to this day, I still cannot understand how Ian Gary beat Carlos Prates. Genuinely. How did Ian Gary beat Carlos, bro? Genuinely. How did Carlos not finish Ian Gary in this fight? I remember it, from start to finish, but it's just like I don't understand. I know there's a lot of grappling in that fight. Carlos did have Ian Gary on the edge there. he had him running. That's that that crazy photo of him on his hands and knees trying to scrawl away. I think that I'm pretty sure that was in the Corfotis fight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Not the Shavkat fight. Yeah, Shavkat fight. He was like laid up with Shavkat while Shavkat was trying to get a submission on him. But the Pradas fight was on his hands and knees running away from Pradas. Well, Muhammad, very like this fight's closer than people think it was. Kind of a tough fight, but obviously he won in a kind of slightly dominant fashion. But enough of his resume. He's a couple of good, nice wins. His best win is Pratas, obviously. Best performance is Neil Magny, and his only loss is against Shavkat, which is fair. Shavkat's a demon. He's a beast. But anyways, let's move on to Islam's resume. We're gonna talk about Islam, even though this is really about Ian Garry in the beginning. I want to bring Islam's resume in here. Because Islam is he's a beast, bro. He's getting himself up there to be one of the best UFC fighters of all time. Probably, I mean, he's up there already, but like the best UFC fighter of all time. Like he's rivaling Khabib, rivaling John Jones, rivaling George St. Pierre, rivaling Anderson Silva. Because other people Anderson Silva up there, which is kind of questionable too, but fair. But look at his resume. Let's look at his last 5 fights. Bobby Green fight, I'm pretty sure it's on short notice. Dan Hooker, cool. Charles Oliveira submitted him. Legendary Gubber Charles Oliveira, he submitted him. Beat Volk in a good decision fight. He finished Volk in round. That was a nasty, bro. I was surprised when he finished Volk in round. I was like, damn, really? That's what it is. Beat us Emporia in a very a good fight. A lot of I thought this fight was on the edge a lot. Islam pulled off a submission. Submitted Moicano. I think Moicano's also Moicano was on short notice as well. Short notice fight because Arman Sarukian, the supposed number one contender for the lightweight belt was supposed to fight Islam and dropped out like the day before the day, like some bullshit like that, whatever. And then he recently just beat JDM. Recently, that is in November, which is this dude fights like. I mean, I'm not even gonna get into that because there will be a video on inactive fighters and Islam's gonna be on there. I have to do it. Have to put him on there. But anyways, BJDM. It was kind of a little bit boring. He's held JDM there. JDM couldn't really do anything about that, but what it is, man. But his resume obviously rivals over Ian Garry. I mean, I feel like a lot of casual fans are kind of rooting for Islam just because of the people he's beating. That's fair, but do not count Ian Garry just because of his competition. Just because you don't like him. This guy has skill, and he definitely can put Islam on edge in the first round. Kind of show Islam that he's not someone that's going to be easy. Someone's going to finish in round 1 or round 2 or begin the fight. This fight's going to go all 5 rounds, in my opinion, I believe. Now let's start with the outcomes of this. The first outcome is Islam retains the belt. He beats Ian Garry by a decision or he finishes him. If he were to finish him, I would see Islam finishing Ian Garry by submission. Not saying Islam doesn't have finishing power. We've seen it before. He's knocked people down with some nasty shots before. But realistically, let's be serious here. Islam most likely would submit him other than finish him. Yeah, that's as easy as it gets. I mean, Islam retains the belt. That's pretty much it with this one, man. I mean, he just wins. He just wins, holds the belt. I mean, a lot of people are probably gonna be like discouraged about it, just because we want to see a little bit of spice to a division. Like, not the title changing every single title fight that gets scheduled and made. But, we want to see a guy change like every 3, 2, maybe even 4 times, because, welterweight and lightweight. The welterweight belt's been being passed around since Leon Edwards cursed the division. Lightweight was being passed around as well. With Ilya, Gaethje, Max. Yeah, it's just been crazy. But yeah, Islam just gets a simple win here. He moves up with the rankings in the UFC GOAT Talk, and you could definitely put Islam in the top 5 of the UFC GOAT Talk. I'm pretty sure. Like for me, my top guys who are in there are John Jones, George St. Pierre, Khabib, and I said John Jones, Khabib, George St. Pierre. I'm missing a very vital one, but yeah, Islam could definitely be up there for sure. Let's move on to outcome 2. Kind of a different outcome. Ian Garry shocks the world by beating Islam Makhachev. Now, if this were to happen, my jaw would probably drop on the floor, bro. Generally, I'm over here. Yes, I'm making a video on how Ian Garry has a very good chance of winning this fight. But at the same time, if he won the welterweight belt, bro, do you know how crazy that would be, bro? If he were to beat Islam Makhachev, the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, where would that put Islam at? Genuinely, I honestly want to know. He would still be up there, but I don't know, man. You know, Ian Garry does his little. He utilizes a lot of leg kicks, keeps Islam at distance, stuffs his takedowns, outstrikes him. You know, kind of gets a little bit of ground control. They have a lot of grappling exchanges on the ground, but then he just gets to swim by decision. Because realistically, come on, there's not gonna really like if we're being realistic here. The likelihood that there's gonna be a finish in this fight is very low. I don't even see Ian Garry knocking Islam down, but just kind of getting Islam in trouble a little bit in the earlier rounds, maybe. But I just don't see Ian Garry finishing Islam in any world, bro. Any outcome. Same with Islam. I mean, Islam could submit him. That's it. But like a knockdown, sure, but not a KO. Not a flatline KO knocking Ian Garry out cold. But if Ian Garry were to do this, bro, this would be insane. I would have mixed emotion about this. I don't really like Ian Garry's character. But at the same time, I gotta respect it, bro. Number contender showed up and beat the pound for pound #1 fighter guy in Go Talk as a Makhachev. That'd be crazy. Now, outcome 3 is where we get a little bit spicy here. Let's add a little bit of spice to this. Islam could retire after this fight. And yes, there's been a lot of speculation about Islam retiring. And that'd be fair. If he retired, I forget, I think he's like 36, 35. I mean, Khabib retired pretty early. Early as in MMA age. I remember he retired 2020 against KG. I remember that. He's done. And Islam could do the same thing. He retired after, winning the fight. Now, obviously, Khabib was undefeated. Islam's not. But still, Islam will still go down as one of the best fighters ever. Pound for pound #1. If retired, shout out to him for having a great career, putting a lot of good performances, putting a lot of exciting moments in the UFC that I remember vividly. And he'll be forced to relinquish the belt. Now, I do think if he was to retire and relinquish the welterweight belt, they would need to do for the vacant title. They would need to do a fight between two contenders, guys who were edging their way up the rankings and welterweight, who were right there to getting a title shot. That being Michael Morales, who is the backup fighter for Ian Garry if Ian Garry drops out. Likely Islam drop out, but you never know what's gonna happen. I'm not wishing it. I don't want to see it happen. I want to see this fight happen. But Michael Morales is the backup fighter. That would be another very cautious fight for Islam. A very very scary fight because you don't know. Michael Morales is tough. Same thing with Carlos Prates as I would have Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates, two very scary contenders in welterweight who definitely have a chance of beating Islam for sure. I think Carlos Prates has a better chance of beating Islam than Ian Garry. Michael Morales 50-50, but still kind of slightly better chance for beating Islam than Ian Garry does. But the UFC, Dana, matchmakers, they would have to book this fight because you look at the welterweight rankings right now, and obviously the champions Islam, right? The #1 is Ian Garry. They're fighting, yes, we know this. But then we look at the welterweight rankings. You gotta really take a little deep dive at here. We have Carlos Prates at 2 and Michael Morales is 3. JDM just lost. He's on a 2-fight streak, 2-fight skid. Bonfim is mid. He's nowhere near the belt. He beat Bilal Muhammad. Okay. And we're gonna stop at Sean Brady here. Sean Brady is coming off of dominating one of Joaquin Buckley. Sean Brady doesn't have the title shot. Hopefully he gets that. I like Sean Brady a lot. Hopefully he gets it. Bonfim, but I could care less. JDM, obviously not. He needs to fight somebody. Could see him fighting Bonfim. And then we have Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates, 2 and 3. Makes the most sense. Book it. Me personally, I say Carlos Prates in that fight. But this will be such a fun fight. Like, there's been so many talks about who would win between Morales and Prates, or even Prates versus Islam, Morales versus Islam. So many good matchups you can make. Please, if Islam were to retire, and he could, Me personally, I probably wouldn't want to see him retire. I maybe want to see like one more fight with Carlos Prates versing him, and that would be such a net. That would be more. I would have more hype against for Ian Garry. I would have more hype for Prates than Ian Garry for sure, 100%. Because Prates is the most hardest hit in the UFC. But anyways, this fight should happen. Realistically, it makes the most sense. If I see some bullshit like JDM, like I love JDM, love him to death, bro. But kid, you're not getting a title shot right now, bro. You need to fight somebody who's on the rank, like rising up. Like I've seen him fighting Bone Theme Brady. I was one of those guys, bro. Not JDM getting another title shot. No. Pradas versus Morales for the vacant welterweight belt if Islam retires. I want to see it. It should happen. Make it happen. If Islam retires. And that would be a banger of a fight, I'm telling you. Now for the last and final outcome, that being outcome 4. What if Islam moves back down to lightweight? Regardless of the outcome. Let's say Islam loses, even though there's a very low chance of Islam losing. He moves back down to lightweight, right? Or he wins. Wins. But he moves back down to lightweight and he fights for the belt. There are a lot of matches I could see Islam fighting in. Realistically, Islam, the only matches people want to see. No, actually, no. Let's look at that here. The only match people want to see, really, I was gonna say Gaethje and Ilya, but now that I think about it, we will want to see Islam versus Oliveira. Maybe. We want to see Islam versus Armin because Armin was he's kind of did a bitch move there and dropped out the fight last minute. I don't care what it was for. Armin's just a whole different story. But we want to see obviously Gaethje champion, crazy fight. Should not get a title shot immediately. We want to see Islam versus Ilya Topuria. This fight, in a way, Islam kind of ducked Ilya Topuria. Let me explain that here. If you guys remember, when Islam was still in lightweight, still fighting, contending, champion, at one point he could have fought Ilya Topuria. I think he was saying something about, if Bilal loses the belt, wants to I'll stay, or if Bilal retains the belt, or something like that. Something like that. I'll stay in lightweight. If he doesn't, I'll move up to welterweight and contend. So okay, cool. But at the same time, do you understand how much hype this fight would have, bro? If we saw Islam Makhachev, the pound for pound #1 versus Ilya Topuria, who's been going, pre Justin Gaethje fight, because we want to see this fight happen. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Pre Gaethje was on a tear, undefeated, beating up everybody. Volk, Oliveira, Max, like crazy, bro. He kind of beat up Gaethje a little bit in that fight, even though he lost. He did damage Gaethje a lot. But we would want to see this fight. This fight would be generational. This fight would be families, bro. This fight would genuinely. If I was told I had plans for like a Saturday night for this card, Islam versus Ilya, I'm canceling all my plans, bro. I don't care what. Actually, I'll make some exceptions, but realistically, I would have to watch this fight, bro. Do you understand what this fight would do for the UFC community, bro? Dana, matchmakers, they've been starving us, with a lot of big fights we wanted to see, a lot of fights that they've delivered on, but we missed out on this fight so bad. Hopefully, we could see this fight happen if Islam moves back down to lightweight, bro. I'm telling you, Islam moves down, he fights Ilya, banger. Realistically, though, I would say I want to see Ilya fight Paddy Pimblett before this, just because of the beef. And Ilya should not be fighting Gaethje. The winner of Armin versus Mauricio Rufi, I could see fighting Gaethje. But at the same time, yeah, like Ilya should not get a title shot right now, bro. He should fight Paddy Pimblett. But this fight should have happened a couple years ago, like a year and a half ago, 2 years, when Islam was still in lightweight, bro. Like, in a way, Islam ducked him. Ilya wanted the fight. We know Ilya does not drop out of fights unless it's this serious. We know Ilya. I'll come some slack here. I'll kind of say a little bit inactive in the past couple of years, but we gotta cut some slack, right? He went through a lot of hard stuff. Fair, but we know Ilya will take this fight. We know Islam very questionable. He has blowing allegations. He has ducking allegations, and he has inactivity issues in a way. I get it, Ramadan, all that, blah blah blah. We get it. But this fight, bro, Islam and it will both be done to do this fight. I'm telling you, bro, this fight will feed families, bro. It would feed me, bro. I wanted this fight so bad. You don't understand, bro. I think it was like 2024, like or 2025 when Ilya was making his way up there, defeating all the legends, and Islam was still one of the best fighters in the world, or the best fighter in the world. Probably, actually, depends if John Jones was still fighting at the time. I don't think he was because his last fight was 2023. But anyways, you don't understand, bro. This fight was literally gonna happen eventually, but Islam kind of ducked in a way. But even if this fight didn't happen before, there's a big chance of it happening now because I would want to see Islam back in lightweight. I do want to see a lot of trilogy fights, fighting people again. I want to see. I love to see an Oliveira fight. Let's say a Gaethje fight for the lightweight belt. Love to see Ilya. Obviously, we can see Paddy Pimblett. We can see Quillen Salkeld. Imagine Quill. Okay, I'm kind of stretching it here because I've been seeing like Quillen Salkeld hype, but I'm kind of stretching it there. Imagine seeing Quillen Salkeld versus Islam, bro. With the way Quillen Salkeld is making off rankings, but the way Quillen Salkeld, the hype is moving up, man. Man, Quillen Salkeld, he's a beast, bro. And imagine him versus Islam. There's so many matches that make up Islam moving down to lightweight, bro. I'm telling you, welterweight, there's matches too, but I feel like in lightweight there's more. Welterweight is stacked, but lightweight there's so much more stackedness. That's not really a word, but stackedness in that division that I want to see. A lot more fun matchups. Cool, welterweight's cool, all that, yeah. But stacked, but lightweight's stacked too, bro. And tons of guys you could put Islam against. But anyways, man, that's gonna be the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoy. I put a lot of work into this, a lot of deep dives, I wanted to, I put a lot of my opinion in this. I hope a lot of people regard my opinion and kind of listen to what I'm saying here, because I feel like I'm saying a lot of important things here. But if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. It's gonna be all. I know I'm late on dropping UFC 330 predictions, but they're gonna come out tomorrow. I don't really care for this card that much, but there are some fights I do want to see on there for sure. The predictions come out like middle of the day tomorrow. Stay tuned. Saturday we watch. Saturday I'm gonna miss a couple of the fights. I'll be out somewhere. I'm gonna miss a couple of the fights, but then I will do instant reaction. Trust me. I'm excited for this fight. I want to see Islam beat Ian Garry. Or Ian Garry talks the word. You never know. But anyways, that's gonna be all, and I'll see you boys. Peace.